and sharing screen. Before we discuss anything else though, can anybody just like were you able to find the sub themes, make the flow charts that I told you to?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am. I've made an online one.
Okay, perfect. So, in case of an online chart, you'd still have to say it out loud, whatever you've written down wherever, because you won't have the liberty of sharing your screen. So, you can just raise your hands, whoever has
You have to
done
be
their.
inside, please share me.
Also, ma'am, I have a
Can
question.
you click on the video?
Just
The
raise
video.
your hands. Okay, so people who want to discuss their homework, give me a thumbs up, and people who have some other question, give me like a hand, like a raised hand. As in the emoji hand only, you don't have to raise your actual hand, but raise your hand if you have a question, and give me a thumbs up if you want to discuss the homework. Okay. All right, I'll take the homework first. I'll address the questions later.
Ma'am,
So,
actually, ma'am, my raise hand option is not working, but I've done the homework.
okay, all right. Okay, we can start with Yugveer then because the raise hand option isn't working. And then Anaga will go next. After who will go Suchismita, if I'm pronouncing it right. And then, okay, the three of you first.
Ma'am, can I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, ma'am. So my flowchart theme is animals, and my sub themes are aquatic animals, birds, and land animals. Ma'am, in aquatic animals, I've written fish and crocodile, and under crocodile, I've written amphibian.
Okay, perfect. Yes, that makes sense.
And in birds, I've written sparrow and pigeon.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's absolutely all right.
And
Okay,
in
so
land,
I got it. I get it. So Yugveer has made a flowchart which is with reference to like how can we keep characterizing things, not necessarily a theme which can be a theme for a debate tournament, but yeah, it could be a theme elsewhere somewhere. But like the concept is understood, is what is evident.
ma'am,
All
can I
right.
continue?
Okay, so listen, because there's a lot of people here, we just want random names. So now that you've told us that it's animal kingdom that you've been able to, you have tried to explain, we get it, right? So like we get the theme and we get how you've distributed it. We get that you get the idea. So we'll now move on to the next person.
Okay.
That's how it will be, okay? Because if you keep continuing, then it'll be a lot of people who we have to cover in 1 hour.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, Anaga, what is your theme? What are your sub themes?
Ma'am, actually, I was not present yesterday. I thought the session was at 6:30, so I missed it.
Oh, okay. You gave me a thumbs up, so I thought you wanted.
Ma'am, I'm okay to talk. I prepared something just now. I saw the recording yesterday. So. My flowchart is based on the culture of India. So it is divided into festivals and arts and history. So under festivals and arts, I have written festivals. So festivals unite and bring people together in harmony from all different parts of the country, and they spare us from the monotonous tasks that we go through every day. So it is a break from each and every difficulty we come through in our life. And in most festivals, we present our loved ones with gifts and decorate our homes. So this makes our surroundings, our localities much better and brighter, and makes our loved ones feel respected and honored and appreciated in the household. So it shows us that we need to embrace those near us and spreads colors and enthusiasm for the next generation to remember. So we have under festivals, we have national, religious, and seasonal. So under national, we have Republic Day and Independence Day. Festivals we celebrate as a whole. Religious festivals like Christmas and Eid, so that people under each and every religion can come together, so that children in future will be able to understand the culture of everyone. and it spreads harmony, peace, and happiness to all people. Under arts, we have books and dancing. So under books, there are folk stories that bring people together, culture and our past and civilizations, knowledge, life lessons, and all
Okay.
feelings. Can
Okay,
be understood.
Anaga, okay, I get the chart. All right. Now, what I need you all to do whenever I'm asking you a question or whenever you're responding, keeping in mind that this is like like the meeting is for only 1 hour. I think you get brownie points if you are able to sum up all that you have to say in not more than a minute. And we are making this a rule because a lot of people have to be given the chance to speak, because of which we won't be able to proceed with the trainings. So, Anaga, that was a very innovative way of looking at culture. So, initially, I was thinking I will tell you that, oh, culture is already discussed. So, why did you do the same thing over again as homework? But then you talked about festivals, national, seasonal, and religious, which was a really nice bifurcation, which helps me understand that you were able to understand how themes and motions work. So, well done there. Uh, is there anyone else? Okay, Snigdha said that their hand option wasn't functioning. So do you want to go next?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, my flowchart is about the solar system. I have created 3 columns: planet, rock planets, and stars. In stars column, I have written Sirius and the star and Sun. In rock planet column, I have written Pluto and Sirius. And in planets column, I have written Jupiter and Saturn.
Okay. All right, makes sense. Ganeer followed by Viraj.
Ma'am, for our questions.
No, for the homework.
Ma'am, so I have a question and I want to explain my homework. So I'll
Can we
start.
do homework then question?
Yes, ma'am. 1 second. Let me just open it. Okay, ma'am. So I chose war, and ma'am, then I have 2 subtopics: justice and peace. So in justice, there are 2 subtopics: righteousness and revenge. In peace, there are 2 subtopics: freedom and harmony.
But under war, how is justice and peace a sub theme?
Ma'am, so under war, so justice is when you win a war or lose a war. So basically, there are different types of wars. There is one fought in the court and there is one fought on the field. So in both, once you win a war or lose a war, justice is delivered to the winning side. And in peace, that is what comes after a war.
Okay, so now here's a problem. In the flow chart, you keep equals at the same level, which means that if you want to bifurcate war further, you could say peace, not even peace. You could say victory and loss. That is, victory and loss are the same things. It is either victory or loss, right? But when you're talking about peace as something that happens after the war, it is not the same as justice, which you think gets done during the war or once the war is over or almost after the war is over. So this is a process. We're not looking for a process, we're looking for a division, right? So that way some of the things will change. I need you to revise this and then come back with an answer tomorrow, maybe when we discuss the homework. Uh, who else? I think, okay, I'll be taking only 2 more people for the discussion and the homework. Everybody else can put their flow chart and the topics in the chat. So how you're going to put it in the chat is theme dash whatever the theme is, and then sub themes dash whatever the sub themes are. I will understand. And if you have a sub theme to a sub theme, then say sub theme, something on those lines. Okay. Uh, Ahana. I'll take an Ahana and then one more person if you want to go.
Ma'am, since the Wildlife Week is going on, I have taken wildlife conservation, and in that, I have taken deserts, wetlands, and grasslands.
Okay.
So, first of all, I will talk about the wildlife in deserts. So, the wildlife in deserts is the black buck, the saw-scaled viper, or the black cobra. In wetlands, I have the wildlife there is the painted stork, the great Indian rhinoceros, and the brow-antlered deer.
Okay.
In the mountains, I have lots of ideas. the Himalayan quail, the Malabar. Ma'am, how is it pronounced? Or civet?
That's okay. You can keep reading. I mean, this is not like a geography class, so we really don't. The geography of it doesn't matter. All right. Okay. Perfect. You get what themes are in that case and what sub themes are. Now, okay. I see that a lot of you have made your flow charts, but not according to what a theme in a debate can be. So you are saying that you've made this flow charts, but we definitely could not have themes based on animals, right? But maybe we could, but like now I need you to find more like different types of themes. For example, okay, let's do it this way. I'm going to give you a theme this time, and you have to find the various sub themes in it. Does that work? All right. Okay. I will give you a theme later, like once we're about to conclude the session and everything is discussed, whatever is to be discussed today, and then we can discuss those sub themes tomorrow. All right. So let me just give you the theme right now. The theme is politics. Okay.
Ma'am, I want to ask a question.
Yes, Viraj.
Yes, ma'am, physical education. So can it be banned physical education as a sub-theme and then a compulsion of physical education in a school? Because this topic is frequently used in a debate.
Yeah, that could be. Yes.
Okay.
Sub-theme is basically, so there is no such thing as sub-theme in a debate tournament. What I was trying to explain is that there is going to be a theme, but then culture is a very huge theme, which means it is going to have smaller parts in it. So those become sub-themes. And then from those sub-themes, we get the motions. That is, so today I'm giving you politics as your theme. You find the sub-themes. What kind of motions could I possibly give if I'm saying politics is a theme? Okay. Guess, jot them down, bring them tomorrow, we'll discuss. All right, moving on. Three hands raised. Is this to discuss the homework? No more discussion of homework now. I mean, whatever we've discussed, I think all of us have been able to understand. Right? Gauri, why is that?
Ma'am, like I'm saying, it's not about homework, it's like what is politics?
Oh, okay. So you want me to simplify the theme? I shouldn't have to explain politics. If you don't understand that, it's okay. I'll give you a simpler theme. Okay, let sports be a theme. How about that? Sports is your theme, okay? And don't just say sports means football, cricket, those become sub themes. Think differently. Okay, it's not just football and cricket. Think of other stuff. Sorry, what?
Ma'am, I already thought about politics now.
That's okay. You have enough time to think about sports as well. I'm just going to share my screen and quickly start with the training from where we left. And
Ma'am, I have a question before that.
no, we know the rules, right? Everybody is going to raise their hands. When I acknowledge you, you unmute yourself. Is this Ganeem?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Okay, I'm not going to listen to people who unmute themselves without me raising their hands. Sorry, without me acknowledging the raised hands. Ganeem, you asked me a question. This is the last question I'm taking before I go into a slide. And then after the slide, I will take the questions.
Ma'am, so I also have some classes in school. So, ma'am, so what is the timing of the debates from 17th, the online debates? Is it in the morning or like in the afternoon time?
It will be in the afternoon because we do keep in mind that people have school. So you don't have to worry about that.
And so what time?
I don't know the exact timing. I mean, I can't tell you the exact time from when the debates start, but it's going to be 4 p.m. onwards or 3:30 p.m. onwards, not before that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Now, yesterday, where did we leave? Okay, could somebody quickly? No, but then that doesn't help. Okay, so I am going to do it myself. Yesterday, we did a couple of things. Like, I'm just going to revise quickly. Fleet through the slides. Format briefing. How to approach a motion. What is a theme in a debate? Ground rules. Research tips. and how to conduct yourself in a debate room. And now it's the sub theme for qualifiers that we will discuss in detail. So I understand that there were a lot of questions on the sub theme as to what the sub theme is, what is culture, what is reimagining. So I'm going to discuss it in detail today, which means that any question that you might have with respect to the sub theme, today is when you should get it clarified, but only after I have finished discussing the slide. Now, asking question does not mean that you will only pay attention to the meeting when you're asking the question. First, listen to all that I have to say with respect to this slide. And even after that explanation, if there is any question that is in need of immediate addresses, I'm going to take that. All right. Sub-theme for qualifiers then is cultural reimagining. What is culture? We've already discussed this at length yesterday, right? Culture can include a lot of things, which would be stuff like education, stuff like our beliefs, traditions, what is the Indian society like. For example, some people say that Indian society is collectivistic. Now, what is collectivistic? Uh, that we like to live in big families, right? That we like to think of ourselves in relation to the society that we are a part of. And what is the opposite of collectivistic society? The opposite of collectivistic society is individualistic society. What is individualistic? Individual means one person, right? This means that the Western countries are individualistic societies because they are very, I mean, individual. So after 18, children move out. I mean, the children move out of their parents' house and they start living by themselves. And this does not, I mean, individualism is not bad. It does not mean that if you start to live alone and you live in nuclear families and you stay to yourself, then it is not a good thing. It's just that these societies are built differently in terms of how we function as a society, right? So that is one difference of how Indian culture is different from the West. What else could we say about the Indian culture? We could also say that Indian society is still to a very large extent spiritual and less scientific. So some people say that Indian societies are still spiritual. So you will see stuff like stereotypes, not even stereotypes, like certain very old beliefs are still being carried forward. And we still, despite the existence of science and despite being very good at IT and every all of those things, Indians are still staunch believers of certain practices that science does not uh, think of as relevant, right? But that's true for a lot of people living in the Western countries as well. I mean, there's an entire community in the West that thinks that the Earth is not actually uh, like the globe is actually flat, that it's not spherical in the first place. So those kinds of beliefs that go against science are also there in the Western countries, but they are more prevalently, like they're more pervasive in countries like India, the developing countries, the Eastern world. Now, there's another way. I mean, these are all ways of researching, but this is also to like make ourselves more knowledgeable. A country like India. Do you think India is a developing country? Whoever thinks India is a developing country can raise their hand. 4 people raise their hand. Everybody else, do you have a different opinion? 6. 6. Okay, everybody lower your hands. Whoever thinks that India is not a developing country, that it's something else, raise your hand. 2 participants still have their hands raised.
Ma'am, actually, ma'am, my hand is not working. So I want to raise my hand in this thing.
Okay, is that Yugveer?
Yes, ma'am.
So do you think India is not a developing country?
Ma'am, ma'am, it could be, I like places like Saudi Arabia and Democratic Republic of the Congo, they could be more developing, no?
Okay, yeah. I mean, there are always degrees of development, which means that if we call France a developed country, this does not mean that maybe France is better in every respect when compared to America, because America is thought of as like the most developed country because it was this unipolar, it was the superpower in a unipolar world. But just because France is less developed than some other developed country, it does not make France a developing country. Do you understand? Which means that if you are in the developing category, it is, what is it determined by? It is determined by what are your major like, it is determined by things like GDP, and where what is the profession, or what are the occupations that are mostly practiced in a country like ours. So ours is still an agrarian society. Do you all understand what agrarian is? I am sure not. Agrarian means the societies that still largely practice agriculture. So if you go to the Ogly Instagram page today, and this is your homework, okay, for today. I mean, theme, that's a very small homework. You don't have to think of that as homework. But this is important. If you go to like the Ogly page, you will find that there are some knowledge posts that have been uploaded very recently on agriculture and economy. I need you all to just sift through them, read through them, and come to the class tomorrow having read them. Okay. So yeah, developing country from us, from the sense that we are still a society that largely follows agriculture. And if you look at how we follow agriculture as compared to how America does its agriculture, it's very, very different in terms of technology, upgradation, etc., etc. That's why India is still considered a developing country, among many other reasons. This being the one of them. Okay. Other
Excuse
than
me,
that, yeah.
ma'am. In the debate that you said that to prepare debate in sports. So,
Yeah.
ma'am, while I'm preparing, so can I choose a topic against it, or maybe an advantage of it?
Yeah, I mean, when you're giving me the flow chart, you can do that. But when you're debating, then all of that is decided by the organizing committee, people who are organizing ideas, like us, the
Excuse me.
trainers.
So, ma'am,
Yes.
we don't have the power to choose that which which position we have to take.
No.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Okay, again, raise your hand, because otherwise it's very difficult for me to focus on what I'm saying, also on who wants to speak and who doesn't. Raise your hands and allow me to finish once. Once I've finished saying something, I'm going to like take your questions anyway. So completing what I was saying, when you're talking about India, it could be a lot of things, right? India is a developing country. India is also an agrarian country at large, which means the most widely practiced profession or occupation is still agriculture, right? And yeah, agriculture. And then third thing, and this you don't have to really remember, but if you are able to, that's good, because again, it's about becoming more and more knowledgeable with every passing day. Orient is this word that is used to refer to the countries that are developing. Okay, so the countries around us, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, and other countries, like any other country that you can think of as which is developing, or these countries, especially in the Eastern world, they are called the Oriental countries. So Orient is just basically the part of the world which was first colonized. For whoever does not understand what is colonized, this is the part of the world which was taken control of by some empire, like the British Empire, right? Or the French, or some other colonizers, some other people who were actually ruling over some other countries by occupying them, right? So, like India is a decolonized country. India is meaning India was under the British Raj, right? Other countries like Philippines, etc. also. So these kinds of countries are decolonized, but most of these countries are also called the Oriental countries. And this is a word that has been used by the Britishers only, or like the Western people only, for these countries, this set of countries. Now, what is the opposite of the Orient? It is the Occident. Occident are the developed countries. These are the Western countries, right? The countries who have been privileged. For example, they were not looted, they were not plundered, they were not under the British Raj. In fact, they were themselves the people who took control of other countries, over other countries, right? So that is the Occidental world. Now, the Occident is thinks of itself as better, of course. They used to say that we are the civilized people, you are the civilies, the Indians, or some other country, right? Even the black people were thought of as barbaric, who were civilized afterwards. So that is the division. Now, why am I explaining all this? Because you need to understand where culture stems from. Culture is a lot about history as well. what shapes our society. If society is a very important part of culture, what shapes the society is what the situations that the society has been through, because you grow through those situations, right? So Mughal Empire happened, and then we have some influence of Mughal Empire still, right? Like in whatever form and manifestation. And then the British Raj happened, and then we have some colonial hangover, or we have some leftover or influence of that period as well. This is what makes our culture today, right? That's why historical understanding how the other countries perceive India as a country is also very important. For example, if you don't understand partition, you will never understand why Hindu Muslim communalism is so high in a country like India, which also forms a part of like the culture, because culture is also about religious practices and the diversity and how the diversity comes into being, but also if the diversity is celebrated or is it becoming a threat. All of these questions are addressed within the scope of culture. These types of questions. Are there any questions so far? Raise your hands. Don't unmute. I won't be happy with the uh, unmuting without raising up the hands. Okay, Arihant.
Ma'am, every time we had to choose a culture-based topic.
Just for the qualifiers, there will be culture-based topics, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Viraj?
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, you told about developing country and how they are agrarian, like they include agriculture and everything. So, ma'am, like developing country, it means that their economic growth is still growing, and the people they are changing their lifestyles.
People are slowly and steadily changing their lifestyles, but mostly how it happens is, see, so the Western world, which could be like, think of this as England, think of this as America or whatever. These are the countries which first started industrialization, right? So when you study industrialization, that's where it started happening. So the human labor was replaced with machines first through industrialization in those countries, which means they were able to let go of agriculture and move to different forms of manufacturing food, etc., etc., clothes, etc. That happened first in those countries. That's why they have already moved past that phase of agriculture and livestock rearing, etc., etc. But countries like India are also industrialized, of course. We are also growing with time. But it will still take some time because we are not on the stage of development where we can call ourselves as industrialized or as technologically driven as the West is. Because look at all the big companies, right? So Google, look at Apple, look at Microsoft. Where do they come from? They come from the West. India does not really have such a huge corporate giants yet. I mean, we do. I mean, there are a lot of huge companies. Now we have a lot of billionaires as well. We have a lot of startups as well. So this is all hinting towards India's growth to becoming developed at some point. But right now, it's still a lot of the population living as an agrarian society. Does that make sense?
And ma'am, one more thing, like you have written the example for senior category, that this house as India would grant minority communities independent courts. So ma'am, this would create stereotypes, prejudices, caste system.
Okay, Viraj. So listen, first of all, you are not the senior category, right? So you don't have to focus on that particular example. But secondly, a motion is a motion because there are some problems that it wants to raise. So the problem that you're saying is right, but there's some good side, like there's some upside to having independent courts as well. And that's what the debate is about. Are the benefits more than the demerits? Okay.
How am I supposed to
Okay, now somebody is speaking and they're unmuted, which I don't like because everybody else gets disturbed.
Sorry.
That's
Ma'am, just one more question. Like this house regrets the ceremonious mourning of Queen Elizabeth's death.
no, Viraj, we haven't yet discussed that, right? So you can't ask me a question on that because once we have discussed it, maybe I will be able to clarify even before you ask the question, right? Yeah. Gauri, you're raising your hand.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
Ma'am, when you were saying the homework, your voice was unaudible. Can you say it again?
Okay, I will put it in the chat later. Okay. Can somebody put the homework in the chat, please? That will also tell me, I mean, I'll be assured that
What in the
everybody,
chat?
the homework that I assigned. Does anyone remember?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Anaga, what is your question?
My doubt is in today's homework, where we were asked to check out the culture and economy in the Orly website page. So should we check the YouTube?
No, no, the Instagram page of the Indian Debating.
Oh, okay. That was my doubt.
Okay, perfect. Lower your hands in case there's no question. Now I'll ask questions again afterwards once I've done explaining the rest of the slide. All right. So now on to the types of examples that I mean, I'm just giving one example, but if you understand what senior category example means, you can understand it. If you don't, you're not supposed to, so don't fret about it. The example for the junior category is this. This house regrets the ceremonious mourning of Queen Elizabeth's death in India. Now, this is a cultural thing. It could be political as well, but we are looking at it from a cultural perspective. What does this mean? Queen Elizabeth died recently, right? So this is also current affairs. Now, in India, sent its president, which is like something that you have to do in the name of, I mean, that's a courteous move by any country. But other than that, India also had like this 1 minute, 2 minute silence, which was being observed because it was, I mean, this was passed that it should happen by the authorities. So the thing here is that we can critique it, right? Because Queen Elizabeth was a direct oppressor in some form or the other, insofar as it was under. I mean, yes, it was. Some people say that oh, she isn't directly oppressing because this entire British Raj starts earlier than that. But the thing is that they become active representatives of the ills that they put the developing countries through. Do you understand? So, like, that's what this particular motion is about. Do you regret this ceremonious mourning, or do you think of it as something else, as perhaps regret mourning the person and not so much the death of a person who was on the throne? So, are you so those kind of arguments will happen here, but you understand why this is a part of the culture, right? It's a part of the culture because a lot of people are also fascinated with the royal family, the British royal family, a lot. So you will see a lot of Indians who are absolutely crazy in terms of how much they know about the British Raj. I'm sorry, the British crown. And we don't quite know why that fascination arises, right? We're not saying it's wrong and we're not saying it's bad. I mean, you don't always have to be that hyper patriotic person who wouldn't talk about the British, who wouldn't do anything British, because now British is also, I mean, the world at large has changed since the times of colonization. But to critique it, to talk about it a certain way, to compare it with the kind of importance that classical music used to have, but it doesn't have the Indian classical music, all those things are possible. Right? So those are things that you could think about. Cool. Now, any questions on the motion as to why it's a part of the culture, ma'am? I still didn't understand anything on those lines. Okay, no questions. Perfect.
Ma'am, I have a question. Ma'am, actually my raise hand is not
Oh,
working.
okay, okay. So you can put it in the chat. Okay. So if you have a question and your raise hand option is not working, you can just say, I have a question in the chat. Anyway, ask me your question now.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the example for the junior category, this house regrets the ceremonious mourning of Queen Elizabeth's death in India. So this, I mean, this sentence says for the motion, no?
Yeah, okay, good question. Now, so you're saying this is for the motion or against the motion? So there are going to be people from both the sides in this motion. But the person who is going for the motion is supposed to regret the ceremonious mourning, which
Ma'am,
means
regret, I'm for like being sad that Queen Elizabeth was a good queen like that.
No. When you regret something, you can write this down if you are unclear about it. And good question. When you regret something, you are against that practice. Do you understand? I mean, I'm going to explain this more in types of motions. But when you regret something, you are regretting the mourning of Queen Elizabeth's death, which means that okay, Queen Elizabeth died, but we don't think that we as a country who was under the British rule should actually go ahead and observe some 1 minute long silence in her honor or something.
Ma'am, that means this sentence means against the motion.
No. Okay. So it sounds like this is again the motion, but you as the member from for the motion are saying that look, we regret the ceremonious mourning. That is what the member of government is saying. Now the person who's going against the motion will say that no, we don't regret it. Do you understand? So it's the other way around. It depends on how the motion is framed, how it's casted. Do you understand?
Ma'am, so the person who is saying we don't regret it, the death of Queen Elizabeth in
Is
India,
is
he will
opposition.
that means he will say the bad points or good points about Queen Elizabeth.
It's not about Queen Elizabeth, this motion so much. It's about the ceremonious mourning. It's about observing that silence that we did because Prime Minister or like the ruling party in a country said we should. It's more about the practice and not Queen Elizabeth's life or what kind of a person she was.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, so regret means that we are sad that this thing happened.
Yeah, we are disappointed that we have to mourn Queen Elizabeth's death in India, so far away from her and so far away from that society.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, I saw Ishan's hand raised, but now it's not. So, what do I make of it?
Ma'am, how do we start for the motion?
Sorry, what?
How do we start for the motion?
So there is no, okay, so there is no rule about how to start a speech. You can just say, greetings, everybody. I am the member of proposition, or I am the person who is going to speak for the motion. And then you can just start talking about your speech, like start delivering your speech. You can say, we think we regret the ceremonious mourning of Queen Elizabeth for 3 reasons. Number one, this. Number two, that. Number one. Number three, that. Like this.
And ma'am, how is it that this is not for the this is for the topic? If I say I regret, if I don't regret, I'm okay, then am I going against the topic?
No. Okay. So listen, when you are government, so what will happen is that you will be given your motions and you will be given the side you have to speak from. So first I will keep in mind my side. For example, Ishan was given for the motion. Okay. Then I will read this motion. I will read that this house regrets, which means I have to regret because I am the government member and the motion is always crafted for the government side. And the opposition does, or the against the motion person does exactly the opposite of what the motion says. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, sorry to interrupt. I'm Ishan's mother.
Yes, please.
His actually question is that if he says that yes, I regret the ceremonious mourning of Queen Elizabeth's death in India, it will become that he is feeling bad that the ceremonious activity is being performed and the Indians are participating. So he is actually going against the topic.
No, ma'am. So this is not how it works, right? In debates. So you have to identify what you as the government member are doing. So government member in this debate is the person who is against actually. It depends on how the motion is put. So if it was this house supports the ceremonious mourning, then the person who goes for the motion would not be disappointed with ceremonious mourning. But now that it's regrets, this means that the person going for the motion has to be disappointed in the ceremonious mourning and the practice of it.
Understood. So then he would be in the opposing party saying that, no, I do not regret the ceremonious mourning of Queen Elizabeth's death in India because of reasons, right? These are arguments.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll make it clearer. I think the idea is that if you are going for the motion, then you do exactly what the word after this house says. For example, this house regrets. So you have to regret because you are for the motion person. You have to do what the motion says. But if you're against the motion, you don't regret, you actually support, or you say that it's okay. I mean, we don't want to regret it. We think it has some upsides. And likewise, if you look at this type of motion, this house as India would do something. So here, soon after this house as India, what do you have? Would grant. So you will have to grant as for the motion person. And you will not grant minority communities independent courts if you are against the motion. Does that help everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I don't want you to be painting on the screen. That's not what this option is for. Only I am allowed to do that. All right then, moving on. Now I'm talking, okay, so I have tried to come up with some issues that you can possibly read about if you want to make yourself well versed with the culture of India. And these are just some points that you can start your research with. Don't limit yourself to these points, because even I, as the trainer, cannot give you all the possible dimensions that culture has, because that's how many dimensions, that I mean, there's so many dimensions to it. One person could not enlist all of them. So it's always a matter of exploration and what you're able to find. But some of the major points, according to what is happening of late in the country, are these. One is Uniform Civil Code. So if you don't know about Uniform Civil Code, I don't think, okay, so you don't have to bother yourself with Uniform Civil Code because very deeply, because you are junior category, and it will be simplified for you. You won't be given a motion on Uniform Civil Code. But if you understand it in simple words, if you take the help of your parents, tell them, please help me understand what Uniform Civil Code is, it will be nice, because it's a way of teaching yourself more than you already know. Uniform Civil Code is nothing but very simple, a very simple issue which gets discussed a lot. Should India have like the same kind of practices for everybody? Which means that if people wear hijabs when they're Muslims, and if Hindu people wear some particular type of clothes because they are Hindus, then that all of that will be done away with, and it's going to be a standard way of conducting yourself publicly if there was a uniform civil code. Those kinds of things. Now, secondly, political intervention in religious matters. Simply put, should you can talk about religion, okay, and what is the role that religion plays in India? Is religion also becoming? Does religion also influence politics? And politics, for whoever doesn't understand what politics is, it is democracy, people who rule the country, people who make laws, regulations, legislations. It's also called civics for younger people. It becomes politics later. So civics is what I mean when I say politics. So whatever you discuss in civics, is that also related to religion? How? Right? Now then, after that, you can talk about education. Don't, I mean, co-education in rural parts, you don't have to bother about that. Even if you just read about how education happens in India, right? How are we educated in India? What are some problems in the education sector in India? Is the Indian government investing enough in children's education? Is the education as good in rural areas as it is in the metropolitan cities? Is education, or there could be different types of experimental questions also. For example, this house believes that Indian schools should teach moral education using Ramayana, right? This could be a motion. So some experimental stuff can also come. Now, other interesting topics could be the concept of uniforms. For example, the Western world does not have uniforms for people because they think it kills. I mean, we don't know what they think specifically, but I think uniform is also a way of not letting people be their themselves, right? Like you're trying to make everybody look the same, but then there is a logic to uniforms as well. You try to inculcate discipline in children. So that could be another motion, right? Around the idea of culture and what does wearing a uniform do to a person? Does it inculcate discipline or does it kill their individuality? And then some other topics are public sector service. For example, a lot of people who are like, if even if you have your siblings who are older than you or other people, you will see them talking about how they want to become civil servants, right? And they want to attempt UPSC. Most of the people want to become doctors and cardiologists. Other people want to become like, what else? What are the famous professions? Engineers, right? So there's a lot of societal and familial pressure on what you should become, right? What are the respectable jobs? We could also discuss that. Is that a good way of saying things? Do you really want to say that, oh, this is a more respectable job than the other? Is there no is there no dignity in any work that you choose to do for making a living? And should you really say that, oh, civil service is really better than, say, becoming a tattoo artist? Do you want to bring about those kinds of hierarchies? Do they help, or do they make the country worse? Right? Those kinds of topics. I think any questions that you have so far, because I have tried to explain culture in the simplest way I could. So I am open. Okay, we send this. Yes, please.
Ma'am, the first was like the Uniform Civil Code. So, ma'am, it was the against.
No, there is no against and for in this slide. Okay, let me just go back to this. There is no for and against. These are the topics that you can read about. So these are not motions. See, topics and motions are different. These are
Ma'am,
just things. These are just some things on which a motion could be made, but these are not motions. Do you understand? So, for example, families. Families is a topic. But if I give you a motion on families, then it will be something else. It will say this house. So motion always starts with this house. If it doesn't start with this house, this means there is no for and against in it. It's just a simple topic with no side.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, in the sixth point, but like balancing symbolic glory with material national needs. So, like, what kind of topics can come, in this sub theme?
I have given you an example, right? Erecting statues worth a lot of money. For example, and this is something that we discussed yesterday also, Sardar Patel's statue, right? There was a lot of money invested in it. And then there is Subhash Chandra Bose's statue as well. And then the parliament also got remade very recently. So there was a lot of investment in the infrastructural redoing of the parliament. So it's about that. For example, statues don't directly help anybody, right? Do they? Except for tourism. Tourism happens, and then through tourism, people also get job opportunities. But directly, there is no return as such from statues. So we could discuss that. What is the how do developing countries maintain their national glory without wasting a lot of money? Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm open to questions right now because themes.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, we had to prepare the debate on the politics or the sports.
You don't have to prepare a debate on anything right now. You just have to find sub themes to sports.
So, ma'am, I had find it. Can I ask?
Not today. That's for tomorrow, right? Oh, I mean, what will we do tomorrow if we cover everything today?
Okay, ma'am.
So let's just finish with whatever we had for whatever I had planned for you all today. So this is another slide. If there's no other question, I'm going to proceed with this. This is an extremely important slide for you to understand, an extremely important one, okay? Because this is where I clear the most of your doubts about motion and how to deal with emotion. So now pay attention. There are various types of motions. This is something that I told you yesterday as well, nothing new. Types means what does it say after TH? TH is this house. Every motion starts with TH. But after that, it could be THBT, which is this house believes that, right? This house believes that motion. You have to debate about. So if it's a this house believes that motion, and if you are going for the motion, you will say that yes, I believe in whatever is being said. For example, if the motion was this house believes that X should be done in Y. I mean, these are just examples. So X could be anything, right? For example, this house believes that Diwali should be celebrated in some place, which could be Y. So THBT, this house believes that X should be done in Y. So this could be a motion. Now you have to actually, as person going for the motion, say that yes, we do believe that X should be done in Y. But if you're going against the motion, what will you do then? You will just simply say, we don't believe that X should be done in Y. We think something else should be done. Do you all understand how to identify what you're supposed to do?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
So how many of us understand THS? Can somebody quickly tell me? I told you before what THS is short for.
This house supports.
And this house supports.
Perfect. Excellent.
This
So
is
this, okay. And what is THO?
This house object.
This house objects.
This house object.
This house object.
This house opposes or objects. Okay. So in this house supports or opposes. So these are the same kind of motions, just that the burden gets flipped. What does that mean? For example, if it says this house supports X, X could be anything. So democracy, feminism, anything. This house supports X, in which case the person who is going for the motion. Can anybody guess what the first person going for the motion is supposed to do in a THS motion?
Ma'am, he would actually
Support
not support the motion.
Ma'am, it
Perfect.
supports the motion.
And facts as to why the team should support the motion.
Excellent. And this house opposes X. So what is the
And they
person
have
going
to
for the
oppose-
motion supposed to do?
And they have to
Ma'am,
oppose
this
it.
house
Actually,
They will tell us why it is unnecessary or why we should go against
They're
it.
supposed to oppose X.
Yes, sure. Okay. Perfect. Yes. So this house opposes X means that the person going for the motion is opposing the same thing, which they would support if it was a THS motion. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Now look at this. THR. Can anybody guess? We just did it.
This house regrets.
Perfect. This house regrets. Now this house regrets is again a lot like this house opposes. So what is the person for the motion doing here? Are they regretting or are they not regretting?
They are regretting.
Perfect. When they go against the motion, are they regretting or are they not regretting?
They aren't regretting.
I'm very regretting.
Excellent. They are not regretting in against the motion. Okay. All right, then. I think today we will have to conclude here with the types of motions because the senior batch will be joining in for their own session. Okay, let me just give you another type though. This house, THW, can anybody guess what is THW?
This house would.
This house would.
This house will.
This house votes.
This house will do something. For example, this house will do X. X could be anything. It's a variable. So in this motion, what is the for side supposed to say? Will they do it or will they not do X?
They will do X.
They will do X.
Okay. And if they were against the motion, would they do it?
They
No,
would
ma'am.
not do X.
What will they do?
Ma'am, they
They
will
will
oppose.
tell us why they wouldn't do X and
Yes, ma'am.
what are the disadvantages of it.
Yeah. And they could also propose that we wouldn't do X because we think Y is better. Do you understand? So they could propose something else. For example, this house believes that children should study hard at school. And if I don't, no, this house will make children study hard at school. And if I don't want them to study hard at school, then against the motion, I could say, no, they don't have to study hard at school. They can probably come back home and self-study. So this is my why. Now, this is a very, I mean, this kind of motion definitely doesn't come because children should study hard at school. But just in case, I mean, this is just an example, okay, of how you could provide an alternative. With that, I'd like to conclude today's session. We are left with a couple of very important things, which we will cover tomorrow and hopefully have a practice debate day after tomorrow. So if there are, yeah.
Ma'am, I have a doubt. Ma'am, so basically, you'll give us a topic tomorrow and we have to prepare a debate and give it to you day after tomorrow.
No. I will have a practice debate with only 2-3 people, and all of us will spectate. So only 2-3 people will debate. We will all observe as to how a debate happens.
Ma'am, you will give the names tomorrow.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for joining in. See you tomorrow. Bye.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye,
ma'am.
ma'am. Have a nice day.
Bye, ma'am.